Unfortunately, Professor Bisu was not able to be here today because she's ill. However, we would like to kick off the event with Mateo, who's going to give us some insight on coffee.
Give him a round of applause.
3 words that I want you to keep in mind at the beginning of the presentation. We have responsibility, society, and us. Now for us, I want you to think as us as consumers. There you go. I want you to imagine when you engage in a purchasing situation. So you as a consumer. Now I'm here today to share with you this idea, this belief that I have, that we as consumers have a great power to shape the society we live in. And as our very good friend, Spider-Man, once said, with a great power comes a great responsibility. Well, actually it was Uncle Ben, but Spider-Man. And then the responsibility comes from knowing what this power is about. So then I thought, okay, how can I share this message with you? What is the best way that I can try to find to share this with you today? And then I thought that the best way to do it was to make it very personal. And by personal, I mean that I want to share personal stories with you and show you more or less how I try to embrace this power. So one thing that you need to know is that I come from Colombia. I was born there, and I left Colombia when I was 17. And one of the things about Colombians is that we have a very emotional attachment to coffee. So for us, coffee is a very important part of our culture. And also coffee is one of those things that people tell you, good things that people tell you when you tell them, oh, I come from Colombia. So for example, when I came to Europe, I heard a lot of times people telling me, oh, so you're Colombian, so you have pretty good coffee, right? And I was like, yes, I do. Well, we do. And then you saw me with this happy face. But then that was a good thing, you know, but then people also relate Colombia with bad things. So for example, when I was living in Barcelona, a guy once came to me and he said, oh, so you're Colombian, so, you know, so you have a drug cartel here in Barcelona. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then here in Hamburg, a guy also came to me one day at a party and he said, so you're Colombian, so you know Narcos, Pablo Escobar, so he's your idol, you want to be like him? And I was like, yeah, sure, I want to be the new patron. You know, so it's like things that are not positive. But then as a Colombian, we also hear funny stories like, there was this girl at a party like 2 weeks ago, and once she knew that I was Colombian, she was like, okay, so you dance like Shakira. And I'm pretty sure that she was picturing this. So like me being able to do belly dancing or something like that. But then the key part here is that I want you to realize that coffee means something good for Colombians. So now that you have that in mind, I want to tell you why coffee is important for me as Mateo, not as Colombian. So forget about my nationality. So something very nice happened to me in my life like 3 years ago. I was on Erasmus in Mannheim, and then I went to a coffee shop. I went by bike, I got lost, and then I was by myself, so I said, okay, let's just get a coffee here. And then the barista, she came to me and she handed me the menu, and I was like, you know, there's a lot of things here in the menu, in the coffee part, that I don't understand. And for me that was shocking because I'm Colombian, I'm supposed to know about coffee, right? So then I saw words like, whoops, like AeroPress, or V60, or Calita, or Cortado, flat white. And I was very shocked by that because I was supposed to know about these things. So then I talked to the barista, and she explained to me, oh, these are methods to make filtered coffee, and then we had a very nice conversation. And then I chose, okay, let's go for AeroPress. And then she asked me, okay, but which coffee do you want? Like we have Colombian or Ethiopian or from El Salvador. And then for me, there was also something new because I thought coffee was homogeneous. I thought coffee came from coffee land, which was Colombia. That's it, period. And then, so then I got the AeroPress, the Colombian one. And when I got the coffee, I was expecting something bitter. You know, coffee is supposed to be bitter, supposed to be pitch dark. It's supposed to, you're supposed to add sugar to coffee so it somehow tastes good. But then this thing that I got was something completely different. It had a nice acidity. It had amazing flavors. The color that it had, it was, for me, it was just beautiful. You know, and I think we human beings, we are attracted to beautiful things. And I kind of like got obsessed with coffee. So coffee became my passion. And this passion led me to write my bachelor thesis about the coffee industry. And then, by the way, if you want to wake up, like really wake up, don't drink espresso, get filtered coffee, you're going to feel the caffeine, it's a lot better. So then during this journey, I realized that the most vulnerable agent in the whole coffee chain was the coffee grower, the coffee farmer. Because these people, they make huge investments, capital investments, time, resources, and at the end of the day, the money that they get for the coffee is just not enough. They don't have a decent standard of living. And I'm talking about basic stuff like being able to send your children to school, to have tap water, to have enough electricity for making rice. You know, so you have to imagine that it's Mateo with his two identities, the Colombian and the coffee freak, and now I see this huge problem that Colombian coffee farmers are not getting enough money to have a decent standard of living, and I just couldn't forget about that. I had to find a way to help them. Actually, this guy here, his name is Hernando Gomez. He is a Colombian coffee farmer. And my goal was I want to have a positive impact on his life. I didn't know how at the time, but that was my goal. And then after a lot of beers and whiskey and time reflecting on this, I read a quote from a Russian-American poet, Ayn Rand, that said that money is only a tool. It can take you wherever you want, but it cannot replace you as the driver. And for me, this meant that eventually, with my purchasing decision, I was affecting the life of the coffee farmer. So my next thought was like, okay, so how can I make a better purchasing decision so I can improve the life of Hernando Gomez? Yeah, there has to be something. And surprisingly enough, there is a very simple way to do that, and I'm gonna share that with you through my friend Linus. So Linus, he owns a coffee shop here in Hamburg. The cafe is called Torquist, a very complicated name. And he named the cafe after his grandmother. And there's a lot of meaning and intention behind that name. But also one of the reasons why he decided to open this cafe was because he wanted to bring more transparency to the coffee industry. One thing I want you to know about the coffee industry is that there is a part of the industry, a very small part of the industry, that's called specialty coffee. And then this part is mainly about high quality coffee. So the best coffee that you can find in the market, that's a specialty coffee. And Linus, he sells that coffee at his cafe. Now, in the specialty coffee industry, there are four main agents. You have Hernando Gomez, the coffee grower. You have Coffee Collective, which would be the roaster, then the cafe, Torquist, and then the consumer / coffee freak / Mateo. Now, the role that Linus plays in this chain is very important because he creates a link between Mateo and Hernando Gomez. So he breaks this gap that exists between Germany and Colombia in terms of coffee. So what he does is that he knows that there is this consumer that values quality over quantity and that is willing to pay a premium for having all these differences in coffee, being able to taste all of that. So he knows that I'm willing to pay that money for good coffee. And then he's gonna try to get the beans from a good roaster. So then he goes and talks to Coffee Collective. Now, once Coffee Collective realizes that there is this cafe in Hamburg that needs those coffee beans, then he's gonna go to Colombia and he's gonna talk to Hernando Gomez and be like, hey, Hernando, you know what? We're gonna pay you a premium because of the quality of your coffee, not because of the quantity. And then with that premium, Hernando Gomez is basically able to do all of the basic stuff that he wasn't able to do before. So children go to school, he now gets decent water, has enough food. So then you see the role that Linus played in that chain. Now also, I'm gonna share with you the role that you as a consumer play. If I stop supporting Linus, then he's not gonna be able to have enough money to buy the beans from Coffee Collective. And then eventually Coffee Collective is gonna be like, okay, so I don't need to get any more high quality beans, so I will not pay the premium to Hernando Gomez. Hernando Gomez still is gonna be able to sell his coffee by quantity, but then the premium that he got to improve his life is gone. And that value that was created was gone because I decided to stop supporting Linus. So I want you to realize, and I would like to share this thing with you, that you can be part of this chain, and then you can support it, but at the same time you have the power to just make it disappear. Now I'll keep on supporting Linus Cafe because it's a place that it's about transparency. It's a place that brings transparency to the industry. It's a place about honesty. If you go there, you can ask Linus, hey, where does this coffee come from? Can you please tell me more? I want to know more about the coffee grower. And he's going to be willing to do that. It's also a place about community. It's a community that is not just here in Hamburg, but it expands all the way to Colombia. And to conclude with, in a humble way, I try to use this power in order to help coffee growers, especially in Colombia. And I would like to leave you with the idea that with a more thoughtful and deliberate purchasing decision, you can also be helping someone. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing your infinite love of coffee to us. And I'd like to remind everyone that if they have any questions, they could feel free to ask the presenters after the event is over.